We've all heard those stories, haven't we, about the friend or neighbour who has had subsidence on their property, and before they knew it, that 100-year-old oak tree was happily being chainsawed to the ground by an enthusiastic mob of arborists who had been instructed by an insurance company to get rid of it to stop the building from moving. Sadly, in my experience, this happens all too often and could probably be avoided in the vast majority of instances. This may be a bit of a soapboxy video, so please bear with me, and if that's not your kind of thing, then we've got loads of other videos on property matters that will grip you from start to finish instead. I'm making this video because in a couple of occasions recently, trees have been wrongly targeted as being the likely cause of subsidence in buildings. In one instance, my barber had received some very official looking letters from an adjoining owner's insurance company saying that he must chop his tree down because its roots are damaging their policyholder's building. The thing is, these trees were covered by tree preservation orders, and to do so could incur the wrath of the juicy penalties that tampering with such trees bring, such as a 20 grand fine. The next thing my barber knows is that he's been contacted by the council because somebody has made an application to chop down the trees which are wholly on his land. Luckily, as part of the TPO application, the council required the applicant to provide further information, and in doing so, the applicant disclosed that actually the drains near this area of subsidence were severely cracked, as these had not been maintained for decades. As a result, water was leaching into the ground surrounding the drains, washing away the soil, and the tree roots had decided to migrate towards this ready source of water in much the same way as you'd expect an elephant's trunk to shoot out if you were to hold up an apple. The council saw sense at this point, and of course they told the policyholder to fix their drains, and no, they weren't allowed to chop down the tree. A great result for my barber, who is a big fan of the natural world. As an aside, if you're looking for a snazzy do, just like mine, leave a message in the comments below and I'll give you his details. In a second incident, a client asked me for a second opinion as their insurer had sent out a surveyor that had told them that their subsidence was likely the result of tree root damage from the neighbour's tree which stood behind their plot. Why were they suspicious? Well, neither their detached garage nor the rear extension of their house, which stood between the area of subsidence and the tree in question, had shown any sign of movement. When I got to the property, I could see that this area of subsidence, which was affecting a fairly straightforward single-storey extension, was occurring in the front right corner directly next to where a rainwater downpipe entered the ground, and we found that the cause was in fact, again, damaged drains and not the tree roots at all. The tree, although big, was miles away. This client was particularly concerned about how they were going to break the news to their neighbour that their 150-year-old oak tree, and why is it always oak trees that get picked on, would have to come down lest they want to end up in court with a negligence claim against them. The third area of subsidence I saw recently was a slightly different scenario, but nonetheless likely involved a surveyor jumping to the wrong conclusion. When looking at a heavily cracked house in London, it was reported to me that the terraced neighbour had recently had to have the front of their property underpinned because the front of the property was rotating slightly outward. These were quite old properties, and as such, again, their drains hadn't been checked or maintained for decades. In all likelihood, underpinning could have been prevented if they had first investigated and then fixed any drainage issues. Although I don't know all the details, it sounded like the symptom but not the cause had been addressed, and the neighbour's property will now forever be flagged as suffering from subsidence and will now come with the added feature of higher insurance premiums. Thanks, insurance surveyor. While drainage may not be the cause of absolutely every single incidence of subsidence, it certainly is the most regularly observed. And so, if you've noticed cracking in your property that seems to run alongside or above an underground drainage run, my top tip would be to obtain a CCTV drainage survey, which will tell you if there are any cracks, breaks, or root ingress into drain runs, and will also set out remedial work to fix your drains. If you think these videos don't provide value, that advice alone could save you the best part of £1,000 in surveyors' inspection fees. In most cases, once drainage issues have been sorted, the building can be patched up without too much difficulty, as it's rare that subsidence occurs to such a significant degree that you notice things like sloping floors or wonky walls. There are times when it is wise to get a surveyor, as not all cracks mean subsidence, but there's normally no harm in having your drains looked at once in a while. So here are my top tips. Think you have subsidence? Check the drains. Think your subsidence is a tree root issue? Check the drains. Has cracking developed near some drains? Check the drains. Checked out the drains and still can't figure it out? contact us at harrisonclarke.co.uk. So there we have it. That's my soapbox rant against surveyors that want to chop down trees or underpin properties, often unnecessarily. Don't forget, at Harris & Clarke we're able to advise on all sorts of building issues, not just subsidence. If you have a building problem you need some advice on, contact us at harrisonclarke.co.uk. We probably won't tell you to chop your tree down, just be cautious of using a cheap or poorly qualified surveyor, as they may well do so.